Our News from the Hill segment tonight, illegal leaks of classified information are threatening to our national security. According to a new investigation, the Trump administration has been hit with at least one illegal leak per day since President Trump took office. These unprecedented number of leaks threaten U.S. security operations. So the question is, where are they coming from and how do we stop them? With me now from the Washington Free Beacon, Adam Kredo. Adam, good to see you.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Adam, listen, you've done good work reporting on this story. I'm going to actually use a graph on the screen right now from the article that you wrote at the Washington Free Beacon. This is a chart of the number of leaks that's happened under the Trump administration compared to the number of leaks of classified information Obama experienced and President Bush before him experienced. This is quite phenomenal.
Yeah, I'd call it startling. It really is, and the word you used, unprecedented, is certainly true. We've never seen a leak environment like this where it's not just political information, but classified national security intelligence. And I think what's incredibly different here in the case of Trump than what we saw under both the Obama and Bush administrations is that the leaks of information are not about informing the press about information or operations or situations that may have been taking place under cover of dark, and they're releasing this information or leaking it to help or inform the country. But in fact, the information here, the leaks, are about weaponizing national security intelligence and classified material to undermine the Trump administration and really handicap the national security apparatus. It's about Trump being made to look bad rather than really informing the American public or the press. And that is wildly different than anything we've seen in quite some time.
Right, because I think it could be compared to, I think you make a good point, and I think the comparison is when the bin Laden raid, when they shot Osama bin Laden, the Navy SEALs, and all that information, that classified information was leaked afterward. That is different because the purpose of that was exactly what you said. It was to inform the American people, and they still shouldn't have leaked it. It was wrong, and it could potentially harm national security, but it was more to satiate a curiosity of the American people versus meant to harm the president, certainly. But these numbers, I mean, I want to make sure to stay with these numbers. 125 stories with classified information have been leaked since Trump took office. 78% of those leaks concerned Russia.
Yeah, obviously, look, the narrative of collusion and now obstruction and hacking of the democratic election here in the U.S. by Russia certainly has been a big deal, but the nature of the leaks are very interesting here. They focus on Trump administration officials, transition appointees, others close to either the Trump administration or the Trump election team, and they're trying to paint him in a certain light, paint these officials in a certain light. It started with Flynn. It actually went as far back as Pompeo, the CIA director, when he was being put in that place. They were leaking against him. And again, the goal of this is not to reveal something that the American public should know. It's about making Trump look bad. So weaponization of this information is really what's paramount. And I think the investigation confirms, quite honestly, a lot of the things that I've been reporting for months now, that a lot of the former Obama officials, a lot of the Obama allies, either still in the government or who have moved out of the government but are still in a place of defending the former administration, have said that I've been lying about or misleading about. This Senate investigation completely 100% authenticates not only the reporting I've done, but a lot of the reporting of my colleagues, and I think that's really important to highlight here. Right.
Take a moment. Toot your own horn here. You're vindicated. I'm sure that's a great feeling. The shocking part of this, too, from the National Security Council, I said this in the introduction, 50% of staffers on the National Security Council are holdovers from President Obama. This isn't one or two, errant employees who are leaking information. A solid half of them worked for President Obama. That is insane to me, Adam.
Yeah, look, the administration has come under fire, and rightfully so, I think, for really not filling positions that they should have filled. People have been saying for quite some time, bring in your own people,
Right.
and you won't be as much of a victim to these types of leaks. Look, it's become very clear that those on the outside, that is former officials with the NSC under the Obama administration, and their friends who are still on the inside are talking routinely, and they're leaking to the press. The Senate investigation, interestingly enough, found that the Washington Post and the New York Times were getting the majority of these leaks, and it's the same
Shocker.
reporters, naturally, that were getting leaks during the Obama administration. Right. The dots are pretty easy to connect here. It's not some sort of crazy deep state, subterfuge. It's actually quite upfront what they're doing. They're calling up their buddies and they're leaking information that they know will be damaging to the current president.
No, and that's why it's insane to me, because I don't really buy into the whole idea of a deep state, of people embedded purposely within the government.
Yeah, me neither.
But there certainly are holdovers who wish President Trump ill and clearly aren't worried about putting our national security at risk if they feel they can score a political point against him. That's why I think the Trump administration should get rid of the Obama holdovers and fill those positions with their own people, because I think it would prevent these leaks. One last point, Adam, before we go. When you mentioned the Washington Post and the New York Times, I mean, we on this show have been reporting about the Washington Post's use of anonymous sources and their fake news stories. We keep a list of them running for quite some time now. But it's really no wonder to me that President Trump has this adversarial relationship with the press when they do things like this, when they accept this classified information, when they print it, when they work in tandem with these holdovers to leak classified information that damages our security.
Yeah, here's what I'd say, and I want to be careful here because I am a member of the media and the press, and I report on the NSC and the State Department and the Pentagon and all these agencies, and I do think leaks are good in a general sense. I like when people leak me information
right.
so that I can inform the public. That is a good thing, and it is certainly a right and a function of the press. The difference here is that what the Washington Post, New York Times, and other publications are doing is taking the word of former officials that are telling them information that they're hearing from current officials that, one, is either impartial or incomplete, or two, doesn't always get to the actual truth, and they're running it with the slant and with the spin from these officials. There's no real effort to get to the truth and the full story behind this, and that's what I think is really problematic, and what
right.
reporters really should be striving for is fairness.
Right. Well, my problem is that it's classified information that puts our nation at risk, and they're doing it with the intention of hurting the Trump administration. And then with the Washington Post specifically, my problem with them is that they lie. They cite anonymous sources, which makes us all suspicious of all anonymous sources because they use that as a reason to purport their own agenda when it's not actually true. We don't know who these people are, and they've turned out not to be credible. Adam, I appreciate you coming on the show. Thanks for being here.